I run out of ideas sometimes. All right. All right. All right. Getting stuff done. Feeling good. Um, yeah, hair is looking wonky. I totally admit it. Totally seeing that now, but I don't spend a lot of time on the interwebs looking at myself. Hello there, Carla Jane. Ma'am, we were talking about the humidity and the heat. I am telling you, since the time you and I spoke, it has gotten so hot and so humid here. And talk about not being able to get people to get stuff done. It is literally, well, it's funny. This says it's only 79 degrees out. It feels about 90. And it's actually, I'm glad I looked at this because it says that it's supposed to shower within the next couple hours. So this is good to know. I'm just going to yell down the hallway for a sec. That's how my husband and I, we joke that we should get a like 2 tomato soup cans and a big string and just yell into them. I'm just going to do that for a sec. So hey Gina and hey Cheryl. Hey Babu. I saw that it might start to rain. 6 o'clock. Oh, I saw 4 something. I'm just saying, if you want to take a bike ride, just be aware of the rain. Yep. All right, bye. All right. Oh, funny. It has rained there 3 times since I saw you. Yeah, too funny, huh? Weather. So we were talking about this earlier, both in coaching and in the TikTok live, and now here on the YouTube live, about how the conditions, the circumstances around you are always changing, right? Christine, nice to see you and spreading sunshine. The circumstances are circumstantial, right? So the weather can be rainy, the weather can be dark, the weather can be gray, the weather can be dark and gray and rainy, or dark and rain and cold, and all of those things. Now, I totally admit that when the weather is kind of like just right, much like what's her name? Goldilocks. It feels great. Low humidity, warmth, but not too warm, maybe a light breeze, maybe not. When the circumstances are perfect, that feels great, but it doesn't always happen. So, learning to be flexible, to say, what can I do to either make things feel better, or what can I do that may be different than what I planned? There we go. Cheryl says it's raining in Kansas. And you know what? It's funny. I believe there's a song. There's a song by Blossom Dearie called Rhode Island is Famous for You. And it says something to the tune of Kansas gets bonanzas from the rain, or maybe it's the grain. I'll have to Google it. But yeah, so instead of being outside working in the garden, now you're working in the kitchen on your day off. All righty. Hey, I love that. Leslie is saying, signing up for Saturday decluttering. Please join me, friends. I love that. I love that. I'll be there. I totally will be there. If it's too warm, maybe you want to put on your air conditioning. I'm just going to quickly look up because we do have, this is not pressure, this is just info. We do have a decluttering party tomorrow morning. Tomorrow being Thursday, June 19th. And it's starting at 9 a.m. Eastern. Now, I know that is very, or could be considered very early for some of the people in other time zones. But we also have that one coming up. Yeah, we've got a whole bunch of them. The 19th, the 21st, the 23rd, the 26th, the 28th, and the 30th. All righty. Yes, Kelly Smith, Beth, part 2, Electric Boogaloo, right? I love it. Melissa is saying, looking forward to hour 2. But you know what I look forward to? I don't particularly look forward to talking to myself, right? And for those of you who are new, because we had a new person show up last night on YouTube. She was wonderful. I believe she got some good stuff out of it. But in case we haven't met before, we just do this. My name is Beth. I'm a decluttering life coach, and my coaching is called Destination Decluttered. We get about a dozen or so people here. And so what I offer to you is, seriously, use this time for the best stuff ever. If you have no questions about decluttering, if you are not stuck in the least, if you have access, one-on-one access to a person who can help you where you're stuck, or you don't know where to go, or wherever you want to call it, if you're good, by all means, please hang out and chat, or even better, seriously, if you have some surface area decluttering to do, I would be thrilled, frankly, if you paid less attention to me and did some decluttering so that by the end of this time, you put into practice some of the things that we talk about often. Now, speaking of that, I will share with you what was just happening in this hallway here within the past half hour. The hallway, the living room is now that our basement is getting closer to fine, closer to being done. I said to my husband, I said, now that you have some time where he thought he had a gig to prep for, it got rescheduled. I would like you to go through in an organized, systematic way and let's categorize your stuff. When you categorize it, let's inventory it because when you and I even said to him, I says, this is going to sound morbid, but if you should pass away, I have no idea what any of this stuff is. So let's start an inventory. And even just so we know, maybe we need to get more insurance on the house in case stuff gets ruined. Or maybe you just have a better idea of what you have and I know what you have. So we did that. We started with guitar pedals. We were working on, I say me, I was occasionally popping in and out because sometimes you are the person who's talking to yourself when you're looking at stuff. So he was looking at things that I have no idea what they are. And then he went on to microphones. And then as he was moving things around, simply by touching a box one too many times, that may be just the amount of times it takes for you to say, okay, I'm ready to let go of my Lusky Roper hat that I bought on tour almost 30 years ago and have never worn. We have moved that from place to place to place to place, and so I just offer, okay, Christine, yeah, seriously. I actually had to have, I was helping at one point, one of my one on one clients was somebody whose husband collected a lot of comic books and figurines and stuff, and he died unexpectedly. She had to get an expert to come in and help her kind of evaluate the collection. To me, it's so much better to get the firsthand knowledge because then the person can then go ahead and you're supposed to play with your toys and use your equipment, aren't you? Not just to buy it and then to stack it away. Even if playing with it just means looking at it and remembering the story of when you got the Superman, issue 1 DC. I'm totally making that stuff up. Play with your toys. Don't just collect them, but play with them, enjoy them, even if you keep them mint in box. I don't care if you're putting on, a mask and cotton gloves. Move the stuff around, interact with it. Don't let it just rot on a shelf so that when you die somebody else gets it. That's no fun. Now I know the thrill of the hunt and finding something and being completing a collection and finding something to add, but then after that, if your um, collection doesn't bring you joy or you're not even interacting with it, why do you have it then? you know Listen for the answer. Well, I collected it. What did I want to do? I wanted to have it. Well, I have it. Now, what do I want to do with it? Do I read them? I collected, I will admit, for a while, I had a stack of that many comic books because I was in an antique store and I saw these comic books. I think they were called like Young Romance and True Love and all this. They were like comic books geared towards girls, women, young women, and they were mid 60s, late 60s, early 70s. And the thing that blew my mind about them was how they were basically propaganda for, women who were trying to go off and be a women's liber and how that bit them in the ass. So I bought them to read them and kind of laugh at them. But then after that, they just kind of sat there. I know that there's a few things I know for sure. Some of my books and things like that in the other room just sit there and I don't play with them. But it's different than having them they're on display and they fill a visual space. It's not like they're in a box from Mikasa that says cassettes that's been there for 20 years. Okay. Hey, there we go. See? Yes. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. First of all, Carla Jane says she's partying tomorrow. Okay, so don't forget, and I love it. I just saw some declutter party. I just saw some declutter party tickets on sale. Yay! I look forward to hanging out with y'all. And yes, Carla says my soon-to-be ex tried to throw away my son's double bass pedals worth $450. He had no idea what they were, so to him they were trash. That's why it is so important to capture the stories and just the sheer information about stuff. Have you ever watched, what is it? Antiques Roadshow. And I remember this because I was an art history major, and you talk about the provenance, the story of how you got this thing. Because it could have been something you inherited, you could have bought it somewhere, you could have stolen it from somebody, you could have trash picked it. So knowing what it is can help you decide. Yeah, and I snatch them out of the cart right quick. You betcha. Because sometimes I don't know. And my husband knows exactly by looking at the things that he's good at as to um what guitar pedals are worth a couple $100 and what guitar pedals are worth $30. But here's a fun thing. So what I did, and I could show it to you right now, it'll be pretty boring. I'll guarantee you this. But I took pictures. I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to make a spreadsheet, and I'll do all that legwork because I want to have a better feeling for what he has. There is, there are rather, there are about 24, there are about 24 pedals that I took pictures of. Here's where I want you to think of how things can scale. Okay. Because one of the things that he said, yeah, but you know what? Why even take pictures of all of them? Some of them are only worth. And I said, okay, what's the cheapest one? Like, what's the least expensive one in there that if you sold it, what would you sell it for? And he's like, about $30. Okay. So I says to him, I says, even if you had 10 pedals that were only worth $30, you sell those 10, you've got $300. Now there are 23 pedals in there, and there are ones that are in working condition that he wants to use. That it's like, okay, and a couple of those are worth a couple of $100. So it's just good to know what you have and what they're going for, even if you're not deciding to sell them. Because if you see the market go up, you might want to watch the market and buy low, sell high. You also may find out that things you spent a lot of money for have totally dropped and decreased in value. So even if you decide to not declutter and not get rid of anything, does anybody here, I'm just curious, out of the group we have here, is there anything you are currently saving because you think it's worth some money? Now I'm talking about, as I said, I'm talking about my husband's pedals and equipment. But I know myself that I have some of like the family silverware, like silver forks and spoons that I know are not just silver plate, but some of them are sterling silver. So they are worth something sentimentally, but they're also might be worth something to somebody who doesn't know the personal story about them at all. What I suggest to you in this idea of saving something because you might want to turn it into cash is check on your stuff. Take inventory and check on your inventory. Because I'm sure I know I've told this story before. My dad used to collect books, and some of his books he spent a pretty penny on. So we assumed they would have stayed that pretty penny um, thing, right? And that price, no, no. While we finally were ready to sell and okay, we're all on the same page, we could barely give those books away. It was disheartening for sure. So I say to you, learn from my experience, especially with my experience, learn from the good and learn from the not good. So I'm curious, Carla Jane, you said a really large, heavy punch bowl with a large glass ladle and 75 glass cups. So is that something that the ladies down at the tea room might want? I know a lot of people drink like punch and stuff at like fancy like I don't know, showers and things like a bridal shower or a something like that. That might be something that if you're not going to use it. Now, I have a punch bowl. It is not large. It isn't very large and it's not particularly heavy. And it's kind of mid-century modern designed. I thrifted it somewhere. And we have occasionally, okay, she said it would not be something they would use. Okay, at least you tried. Now, Carla Jane, I ask you, do you ever think you are going to um, have a party with even 15 people in a punch bowl? No, I love your sense of humor, my dear, because those of you who are not watching the comments, she says, but you could baptize a huge cat or dog in it. So, depending upon your religion, you might want to baptize a dog or cat. This is where I suggest to you, especially if things are big and heavy and breakable, this is where you want to get the word out, okay, to people in your neighborhood, people in your general area. And here's a thing that can be a shapeshifter. This can open up the possibilities of getting your stuff to somebody who might use it. Is you may think of somebody specific that you might want to think about using this thing, but also get the word out to people and say, do you know of somebody? Would you be interested in this? And or and can you think of anybody? Is there anybody you know that might be interested in this? You know? Yeah. And now Carla says, no, I'm not sure why, but I think the glass ladle and all the cups just fascinate me for some weird reason. Well, there's no weird. That's just it. I'm fascinated by these. It can be fun to play with it. You know, how much punch does it take to fill that punch bowl? How many glasses would you get? Man, our friend Van, who is from South Carolina, he makes a punch usually around Thanksgiving. He has a punch bowl though. I will say to you, so don't start packing it up thinking you're going to send it to him. And it's like a bourbon chamomile citrus punch. Whoo! That thing packs a punch. So play with it. Do something with it. But yeah, interesting. I think since COVID, it is not a usable thing. And notice that's what your brain is offering. I have had punch out of punch bowls, with friends and whatnot, um, since COVID and not caught the COVID. Christine is even offering punch bowls seem so buggy and germy. Yeah, it could be. Some people are thinking that way. Yeah, it may wind up being a huge fancy fishbowl. It may have an afterlife that you know nothing about. You know, Wendy is offering maybe a party planner or catering service could use it. You know, maybe it's one of those things where they have one person, you know, doing it. I offer to you, don't just use the thoughts in your brain, the ideas you have. Ask other people in your area, a church. You know what I mean? A church might want that. And heck, they might use it for baptisms and, when people are around. So I just offer to you finding good homes for things, get the word out. Also, just be ready. If you can't find anybody one on one, donate it and allow it to be at a place where somebody else might find it that you never would have ever connected with, except for that kind of hub point, that touch point of you bringing it to a thrift store. Okay. Oh, Mama Koala saying give a thumbs up. I haven't even looked at the thumbs up. Not okay. Oops, wrong thing. I'm on the wrong. Whoops. There we go. Yeah, you may find and Carla Jane, I'm going to offer this. Yes, Wendy is saying baby wedding showers or other fancy parties like a quinceañera. I can never pronounce it. Quinceañeria, a quinceañeria. Regardless, I totally butchered that. I know, but I know what you mean. Um, You may do something interesting about it, but I will offer to you. If you have no ideas, you do not need to be responsible to find the solution for something that you never bought to begin with. You can simply be the person who says, I have no idea what to do this, but I'm going to put it somewhere and I'm going to trust in the Lord that the Lord is going to send the right person. I trust in the universe, but I know you trust in the Lord. So I just offer trust that somebody, the right person, is going to find it. Quincena, I'm gonna practice that, Wendy, but I'm embarrassed to try mangle it in front of people. Yeah. I'm good with some of the Spanish, but not right now. But thank you. Um, ah, there we go. A church might be a good place to ask. Or again, if you're asking and you're hearing a bunch of no's, just donate it to a donation place. Somebody who has a great idea might be looking for just the thing, you know? Yeah, I have to think about how to say it and would bitch. Yeah. So thank you for giving me some grace on that. I don't mean to do that. Um, So think of the things that you have that you're hanging on to. Again, we got into the fishbowl or the punch bowl rather, because we were talking about things that you are saving, that the thought behind it, the words that describe that item is, well, I'm saving it not because I like it and I want it and I'm keeping it and using it and loving it and calling it George. I am keeping it because it might be worth some money someday. Does anybody else have anything like that in theirs that they are struggling with? If so, I suggest, I offer on a giant silver plate to say, hey, you might want to just touch base and see what things are worth now. You may be surprised, you may be disappointed, but all information can give you more information to make a decision that feels good to you. Yeah, it could be consignment store instead of donation store if you want to make some money off of it. But consignment stores, here's the thing about consignment stores, they can say no. They can say, no, we don't want to carry that. So if you truly just want to get it out of your home, donate it. And as we used to say as kids, cross your fingers and say, no givesies, backsies. You know, they know what to do with stuff that they don't sell in the thrift stores. Maybe it's a high end thrift store. Maybe you just put it on the side of the road on a table and you say, free, come take me away. There are many ways. This was really interesting. I will share this with you. There are many ways to get things out of your home. And here's a really funny thing. I literally had this conversation with my husband, what, like a half an hour ago, 40 minutes ago? He was finally ready, as I mentioned, to get rid of this cowboy hat that he bought 30 years ago when he went on tour with a band. He says, you know what? I'm ready to let go of this. And I said, okay. And he's like, but we're not going to throw it away, are we? And I literally said to him, do we ever throw anything away? We are so conscious of trying to find good homes for stuff. I said, but don't worry, we will not throw it away. We will donate it. We will give it to somebody. Immediately I was thinking of our friends at the, what do you call it? At the vintage clothing place. But better yet, I'm thinking we have a neighbor who is in the local community theater. Maybe the punch bowl is something that they would use as a prop in one of your local, plays or something. If you have people who put on plays and stuff, I know people who put on plays and shows oftentimes need, what do you call it, costumes. So maybe that cowboy hat would be great for a place that has costumes. Now it's fun to think props. Thank you. Yes. So it could be a prop. It could be a prop when they're doing Auntie Mame and they're having a big fancy like Great Gatsby type, um, bootleg gin in the bathtub gin type of thing. So notice that there are so many things out there that our brains don't even occur. It doesn't even occur to us, but somebody else may have a great idea. Um, I love this. Wendy just said, I just did a de-stash of my closet. I found some shirts that I was no longer happy to wear. Notice wearing that shirt did not make her happy. If worse, it made her feel ugly. Oh, yuck. No. So they got tossed in the donation pile. Love it. Love it. Wendy, what I would offer too is do one better. The stuff that's in your donation pile, I hope it's in a bag. Immediately put it in a bag so that when the bag is full enough, you can donate it pretty easily. Yeah. Yeah. And Becca Lee says, part of me, I'm ad libbing here, but she says, always wanted a punch bowl, but glad I never got one because I wouldn't use it, I'm sure. Yeah. When we first got married, my parents in law used to do fondue every so often. So when we got married, we thought we might do that too. Well, we registered for a fondue pot. We got a fondue pot. I don't think we ever did the fondue. Okay. I don't think we ever made fondue. So I will offer to you what we ended up doing was we used it for like a hot thing, whatever. Um, yeah. And what we offered was we're not that kind, right? We're not that kind. We don't do fondue. I thought I wanted one. When we had it, we realized years were going by, we weren't using it. So maybe it was okay to let it go. Now we used it for a while as like a warming tray, but we have other warming trays. Okay. So notice the things you think you want. Then when you get them, does it work out the way you want? Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. Wendy says, I have a box of breakable items and a bag of clothing that is waiting for more items. Won't wait long to donate so they don't become clutter. Okay, good. I love that. To me, the sooner you can get the bag out of the house, it's just you keep things in flow. Notice how we talk about when you're stuck with clutter, when you're stuck somewhere, you could be spinning your wheels and getting nowhere, or you're driving in circles, kind of circles in one direction or the other. But there's a different circle. There's a bigger circle that is when things are in flow and things flow into your life and they're there for a while and then they flow out to somebody else's life. And then other things will flow into your life and you may use them for a while. You may keep them. You may let them go immediately. Some things you hang on to for years and then you let them go. Other things are for a short amount of time and you let them go. So I offer to you, notice the things you thought you wanted. My God, can I tell you? When I was little, I wanted a pony. Now I look at how long horses and ponies live. There's a there's a farm for aged equines near us. When I think of the responsibility and the money and all that stuff, I am grateful. But at the time, I really wanted a pony, and I was mad at my family because they're like, "No, you can't have a pony." Right? So be grateful for the stuff that you thought you wanted that you didn't get. That at the time you thought, "Damn it, why didn't I get what I wanted?" Maybe aren't you relieved now? So yeah, the clutter of unused items. Notice clutter and unused. If you use it, it's not clutter. Even if you use it once a year, it may be something that you use at a specific occasion. Again, I have decluttered a lot of the party accoutrements we used to use quite often, frankly, because we don't have as many parties as we used to, but also because I have other things to serve my chips and dip and canapes and what have you, my hors d'oeuvres, my hors d'oeuvres on. I have other items that I could use so I don't need multiples of things. I know that the cool vintage stuff that I did have joy in displaying and showing off to friends and collecting and using for a while, I feel like for me, I'll be honest with you, that era has passed me. And I like the simplicity of having something that I immediately know when I have chips and dip, it goes in this bowl and I'm done. Immediately that, and it's still cool stuff to me. Immediately that Russell Wright divided vegetable dish can have, corn on one side and peas on the other. I like the fact that the stuff that I have that I've saved that's vintage works both in my house and when I serve stuff out on the patio. So it's like Melmac or plastic or something that's not going to break and shatter if it drops on the patio. So think about even right now. Do you have multiple choices for the same function? Does that light you up or does that stress you out? Could it be that fewer choices just makes it simpler to make a decision? Not like it used to be for me. I literally had 5 or 6 chip and dips because people gave them to me and I inherited them, but I thrifted some and I sold things, and then when things didn't sell, I sometimes would incorporate them into my own collection. So I offer to you, just saying, what do you have that's a multiple? What do you have that's a multiple? Does each one do a specific different function, or is it a repeat of the second one? Here's a glass chip and dip. This is another glass chip and dip. This is another glass chip and dip. They're all about the same size. And then ask yourself, do I really need or want this many? Could I live without this quantity? That's a really good way to put it. We ran into a friend on a I know this one of my videos, I mentioned this. We ran into a friend of my husband's on a trip back from LA, and it was funny because not only are they musicians that worked together, we didn't know they were out there because they actually live overseas. They ended up like sitting in the same row as us from LA to Philly. And we got chatting about the decluttering. And I I remember him saying, my dad used to say, not like, do I need this, but could I live without this? If I didn't have this chip and dip, could I use a cereal bowl and a mixing bowl to put my chips and dips in? Do I need something that's as fancy looking? Could I open up the chip, the chip bag and the dip container? Do I want something maybe that's a little bit more dressy? But how fancy do I need it? Could I live without it? Have I lived without it? Because honestly, you guys, think of all the stuff you have in storage that you're not using. The answer to that question is, can I live without it? The answer is yes, because you are living without using it. Think of the things that you aren't currently using that you live without using, and your life seems to be going along okay. Because if you needed that thing, you have saved it. You would have unboxed the chip and dip in the basement and used it for chips and dips. But I bet you have done something to serve or create something in the kitchen. I don't know why I keep on going to kitchen stuff, but like using something, like if you're not using it, you're living without it. Kind of interesting, don't you think? Could I live without this? Yes, because I'm currently living without it, without using it. Now, again, going back to how often do you use something? Even if you use it once a year, if you feel good about it, I like to think that we will have a party sometime around the holidays where I will make a um, a punch and put it in a bowl. Now, maybe after you guys planted the seed of it being kind of germy and gross, maybe the next time I unpack it, I might go, "Ooh, somebody told me to be out, watch out for germs." That never occurred to me before, but now it has. So maybe when I unpack mine, I might feel different about it, you know? Uh-huh. Now, Christine is catching the thoughts that go through your head, whoosh, sometimes so quickly, but if you catch it and examine it, it could be a face palm moment. I just looked at a vase in my cabinet that I never use and said, thought in head, well, purple is my favorite color, so I need to keep that. Really? Really? Will purple still be your favorite color even without that vase? Notice you're not using it. So you have a choice. You can keep it because it's purple. You can keep it and not use it. You can keep it and use it. You can decide to not keep it, and you can be brave and say, even though this is my favorite color, I don't use this. So I'm going to put it into circulation so somebody else whose favorite color is purple and who uses vases all the time could use this for what it was meant to be. Do you ever see that when you see things that were meant to be used and they're not used? I kind of feel bad for them. Like they have a function in the world and their function wasn't, I'm going to collect dust. You know, Christina says grabbing it along with other unused items on that shelf for donation. Awesome, my friend. Do that. I love that. Would be great. I want to hear where you are in that process in like 25 minutes. How does that sound? Because that's when we're going to sign off. Notice just the really random sentences that you say to yourself without even thinking. It just goes through and you believe it. And then say, wait a minute. You grab it, you look at it, you say, is that really true? Do I have to keep it just because it's purple? Now, my color isn't purple. I'll be honest with you. Purple is definitely not my color, but lime green, orange, aqua, yellow, all of those kind of fun Howard Johnson's colors, 70s, 60s, 70s colors. So I used to see things when you would rarely see something in that color, I would buy it, you know? And I will say to you that there was a time when I saw something, it was like Pavlov's dog. Oh, if it's lime green, I will buy it. Then people knew that I liked lime green and they would buy me things. But how many lime green things do I need? Just because I like to color, do I need to have everything in that color? No. And it can be very easy, you know? Aw. Now Carla Jane says, now I feel like the punch bowl is on the Isle of Misfit party things. Well, you know what? There are certain things that had a certain era where everybody had them. You know, if you've ever been thrifting or to a like an antiques co-op, I'm sure you've seen those little plastic, no, excuse me, it was because it was before plastic really. And those little glass dishes with an indent for like a teacup um or a what do you call it? A punch cup that people would use when you would have like your bridge group over, or maybe it was um, a shower. There are a lot of things, and I will share this. There are a lot of items in the world that were invented in order to make somebody money. Now, hear me out on this. My brain hasn't fully formed this, but I know there's something good here. Prior to the explosion of consumer goods products because of the I almost said the Revolutionary War, the Industrial Revolution, and post World War II consumerism, and the factoryization of manufacturing, there was a things were made smaller and fewer and more expensive. But then there were people who realized, if we create this thing and we plant a seed in somebody's ear of, you're not, people are going to judge you if you use your regular old crockery. You need fancy dishes. You need not only fancy dishes for the table, but what if fancy dishes that sit in somebody's lap? If we make people afraid of doing the wrong thing, they may buy these dishes from us and then we make money. Notice that there's a lot of stuff in your house that you could use something else for that function. Also, that certain things have certain eras in which they were more popular. I think right now, here's a funny one. I think of ashtrays. In prior generations, so many more people smoked cigarettes, smoked pipes, and smoked in their houses. So ashtrays were everywhere, at least where I grew up. Now, not as many people smoke cigarettes or smoke inside. So there's been a decrease in the proliferation of ashtrays, except for, I will say this, in states where where weed is legal. Some of the younger generations now have dishes expressly for their weed. So notice that there are eras in which certain things become a thing and then they're not. You know, even in our most recent history, you've got, I don't know, you've got like the glass jar that has the spigot on it. If you want to make that's probably the punch bowl of the modern day, is instead of having a punch bowl that's all open with germs in the ladle, you have it covered and it's sealed and you just pour it out. So things evolve, things exist and they evolve. Yeah, and now it's almost taboo to have one in your house. Yeah. Yeah, it would be like, oh, and it even just smelling like an ashtray. Oh, it grosses me out. And I grew up in a house with two smokers. So did my husband. We both hate the smell. Um, but there was a time where many people had ashtrays. Even if you didn't smoke, you had them in your house for people who did smoke, because it was common to tell people that it was okay to smoke in your house. Now, I mean, even forever, ever since we've been in this house, even when we have smoking friends, it's like, go outside. Yeah, Carla says my kids had no idea what they were. So think of the things that you have that you just don't use now because your life does not support that. What are the things you have that you are not using that have just become outdated in the way that you live your life? Let me think of some things for me. Okay, Elo says the princess furniture from the 70s finally donated it this week. Yeah, it was a cool thing to have back then. Not so much anymore, so you're going to move it along. Now, somebody who has no furniture may be psyched to get that. The other fun thing can be, honestly, some of the things that to me feel old fashioned, and I know because I used to collect vintage stuff, and I remember my mother saying, why would you want that? It's crappy. I see kids now thrifting and buying vintage things that remind me of decades that I lived in. And I'm thinking, why would you buy that? That's weird old, that's goofy old stuff. It's a generational thing. So it's okay to have stuff for a while. It's okay to keep it. It's okay to let it go. All right. Funny. So Carla Jane says, my daughter found an old TV antenna in the downstairs garage. My granddad was a hunter. She thought it had something to do with hunting and it scared her to death, but it cracked me up. Yeah. Danielle is saying wired speakers for a DVD player versus a sound bar. Yeah. A lot of what is in this hallway right here that my husband is going through is kind of equipment, like electronic equipment for music, that is either stuff that he's using or used for a while and didn't use. We had a power inverter that we needed one time when we were on a road trip because he was recording something kind of along the road, and we've had it easily, I feel like, for 10 years. And he's like, do we really need this? And we had it in the car for a long time just in case. And I'm like, when is the last time we used it? He can't even remember. And I said, when do you think we would use it again? He didn't really have a good answer. I said, if you thought you needed it in the future, is there something else you could do in the meantime? So we live in an era, we live in a world of planned obsolescence, even down to the fact that when you get a new phone, your old phone case is not going to fit and your old phone plug is not going to fit. I just had to update my phone, and all of a sudden I have a pile of obsolete, cubes and plugs. Now I may need them for something, but they become outmoded because of the world we live in. Nobody's going to make money when you buy something once and it lasts for forever. They found that out really quickly. So they plan for it to go out of style. They plan for it to go out of date. They plan for you to be feeling like fearful of not having the right thing. Now I love it. Ella says, I kept the princess phone though. I love that. Yeah. So again, you get to decide. You get to decide, deciding, decision making. And even if for the past 47 years, you said to yourself, I'm keeping that vase, I'm keeping that vase, I'm keeping that vase, it can happen in an instant. You can suddenly say to yourself, I don't want to keep that vase anymore. And without drama, without muss, without fuss, you put it in a box, you make sure it won't break on the way to the Goodwill, and you drop it off. You know? Lori says, that's why I will never buy an iPhone. I agree. Trust me, I think it's a rig. I know it's a scam, but we've invested in the technology, right? Now, Carla Jane says, my parents' old stereo from the 60s was still here. My daughter is all about vinyl. I still have mine. They kept theirs. She is going to rework it and get it go again. Yeah, so there are, trust me. I was one of these people, and I still am to a certain extent. The things that you are done with that you just think are old and goofy, there could be a hip little kid out there who thinks it's the bee's knees, you know? Christine says, I just found 12 shot glasses in the same cupboard. At 55, I think out of my, hey, who wants to do a shot era? Trust me, use it to give you shots of water or like Metamucil or something, right? We used to have, pardon me, we used to have a whole kind of giant glass um, martini glass, an oversized martini glass filled with shot glasses because we used to collect them. And when we were thrifting, and yeah, we would do shots. We still have a few shot glasses. We maybe have about 6. I think they still gather dust. I'm not ready. They're it's the right amount for us. But I also know in any minute I can see one little holder of 4 that I could probably wrap up and donate and not blink an eye. But they're fitting. They fit decoratively into a nice spot right now. You know, right? There we go. Carla Jane says, I always wanted a princess phone. Yeah. I was thinking about that the other day. When you have the ability to buy the things or get the things you always wanted, do you still even want them? I was looking up, what is it? Igloo coolers. Don't ask me why. I have a thing about coolers. I am trying to, because they're useful, but they're also cute. I have convinced myself that what we have is fine. We have a few cooler bags that serve us well. We've had big coolers before and they just sit there. Yeah, okay, I know what it is. Carla, I have one in the box up there. Dymo tape label maker. Dymo tape, right? I should get that out. I will bring that. I'm going to make a note to self. I will use that on a future decluttering party. How's that? Tomorrow's decluttering party. I will bring out the Dymo tape label maker. How's that? There we go. I'm going to write down Dymo tape label maker. Now notice, we probably still make labels today. Do I use, my husband was labeling things earlier. You know what we used was, because it was temporary, um, painter's tape and a Sharpie. But if you want something more formal, it used to be the Dymo tape. Ooh, this is kind of fun. I had one. I think it wasn't lime green, but it was probably like avocado because it was made in the 70s. And then I recently wanted one because I thought it would be fun. And I did label things with it for a while, but then I didn't like the look of it. But I still have it, and I can't tell you the last time I used it, but I'm okay with having it because it doesn't take up a lot of space. I know exactly where it is, and I really won't gain any space if I let go of it. So I'm cool with it. Yeah. Funny. Now, I will say, Carla Jane, she says her daddy's social security number is inside that stereo, still from the military when they had to ship it home. It looks brand new. Yeah, you might want to put a label over that so nobody steals your dad's social security number. Yeah, I have my dad got a really nice like FM, AM, FM shortwave radio when he was in the Navy, and I have that in the other room. So I know that feeling of having something nice and cool that reminds you of somebody like that. But they made things back in the day built to last. It was made from one of those label things. Oh, I love it. Um, Back in the day, more so than now, things were built because people took pride in their quality of workmanship. And to a certain extent, today there are people who are still creating high quality, well crafted things, but they come at a pretty penny because quality costs money. Because technology has allowed us to mass produce a lot of crap, many of us can buy things that in previous generations we would not be able to afford. This can be good. This can also feel not so good. So I just ask you, think about the quality of the things in your house. Think about the quantity of the things in your house and not just all of it. How about a category? You know, Taking a look at your kitchen knives. Kitchen knives. Do you have multiples of the same size? Are they all sharp? Do they work well, or are you always reaching for that one that works better than all the others? If there's the one that you use all the time, get curious about why you have all the others. If you have all the others and you don't use them because they're dull, could you get them sharpened? If not, ask yourself why you're keeping these. Now, this is more of the, and speaking of knives, this reminds me of carving a turkey. Okay, now I apologize for the vegetarians here, but think about it. When you are decluttering at the very beginning, you can lop off there's a leg and there's a breast and there's a wing, and you can get off the big things real quick. As you get into the layers deeper, you will find that there's a little bit more precision that may be required for you to declutter down to the level of quality and quantity of items in your home that feels right to you. Here's a fun thing. Instead of turkey, I'm from New England. I'm from Massachusetts. I love the beach. When you have a lobster, you immediately can get a lot of meat out of the tail and the claws. But then as you get close, as you're done with those big easy wins, then to get the meat, to get all the goodness out of it, you have to go to the knuckles, and then sometimes the crawling legs, and then, all sorts of little tiny bits. I offer that to you in the sense of when you're decluttering your home, is sometimes it is those big things, but a lot of times it really is finding a category and going in deep, going a few layers deep. My husband with his what do you call it? guitar pedals. Do I use all of these? Have I used them all? When's the last time I've used these? Do I anticipate using them again? Do they still work? Do I have more than one? Does it make sense for me to have more than one? Listening to your answers to those questions you're asking yourself and not coming from a place of judgment, but coming from a place of curiosity. That's what it's all about, Charlie Brown, is really just having a conversation with yourself so you feel good about the decision you made to either keep the stuff and then put it somewhere where you know easily where to get it, or feeling good about letting it go and letting somebody else enjoy it. Maybe making some money off of it, maybe not. But if you're owning it and you're not using it, get curious why. Why am I not using that? I'll do that right now. Let me look over here. I'm using that. I'm using that. I'm using that. That's decorative. Oh, actually, see over here? I just noticed it's fallen. That's my TWA bag. I noticed recently that I had it as a decorations, but I hadn't been using it as something good. So we went somewhere recently and I used it to carry something somewhere, either a wine bottle or something. I got to remember where we were going, but I used it. And so the good news is the reason that that is over is because I used it. That, not so much, but that's sentimental. I use that. I use that. I use that. I use that because they store things. These are my books. I don't sell them much anymore, but I give them away when I go to the different places. I gotta get curious of what's in that. That's decorative. That's a book. Stuff is stored, storage. Yeah, I will tell you 100%. 100%, though. So think about this. Be wary of having too many storage opportunities. If I did not have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if I did not have 25 boxes, 25 cubbies to fill, I would probably not have this many kind of decorative storage things in here. I would find a different way to store those things that probably would not be as taking up so much space. So notice when having too much storage gives you the excuse to have too many things, and just ask yourself, am I keeping this to fill an empty space? The answer can be yes. I have that in my kitchen. We have 3 shelves on either side of the kitchen sink because it's an old 50s kitchen. If those shelves weren't there, I probably would not own one to many of the items on there. I have 2 ball pitchers. I would sell those in a heartbeat, but I don't want an empty shelf. If the shelves could be removed, I would do that. So it's really interesting to go around your house and just ask yourself, why do I have that? How would it feel if it wasn't there? Could I put something else there? Or do I like this emptiness? No, if I don't like the emptiness and I can't think of anything else that's there and I like the item, maybe back there it goes and it just is decoration. I think a lot about clutter. I bet you guys realize that, don't you? you know? So ask yourself the next time, like literally, I'm on here for another 6 minutes. When you leave, even right now, we could take a minute of silence, and just look around and say, do I need that? Do I want that? Is there anything on this shelf right here that I feel like I should give away or donate? Now, these are a lot of goofy little tchotchkes. Some are personal, some I don't remember where I got, but I like the quality and the quantity and how these things are arranged. It gives my eye joy to see something that says, don't quit your daydreams, or an autographed picture, or a little inspirational thing, or a picture of my niece, or a picture of my friends, or stuff like that there. I feel good about what I have on display. And when I look at it, I feel good. If there was something off, I would get specific about it. I'm sure I could easily cull a lot of this stuff here. And when I die, I'm cool with somebody just letting it all go. But there are other things I do care about. It really is having that combo with yourself. Okay? It really is. Oops. That's weird. Here, let me do something here. I had a different Different sound. There we go. Boop, boop. All righty. So, you guys, we have 4 minutes left. Again, Beth, Destination Decluttered, Decluttering Life Coach at your service. Tomorrow is Thursday, June 19th. Let's look into the future, shall we? What are you doing at 9 a.m. Eastern? I know I am going to be finishing up a TikTok live and going right into a declutter party. Now, do you want to join the declutter party? I hope you know how to do that. If you don't, let me remind you. I hope all of you are on the Destination Decluttered mailing list. If you're not on the mailing list, this is how you do it. DestinationDecluttered.com. Scroll down to the bottom, put your email address in, say, I promise I'm not a robot, hit enter, and then you should get automatically, because it's, what do you call it? Automatic, an email that says, welcome. Here's a link to a secret page. The secret page has the link that you can join tomorrow's party. Tomorrow doesn't work for you. We've got one on Saturday. We've got one on Monday, on Thursday, on Saturday, and another Monday. And then, my God, you guys, it's going to be July soon enough. Now, during July, I will share this with you. I have started to rough out when the declutter parties are going to be in July, and there are going to be far fewer of them than there are in June. And August itself is going to be like a ghost town. Okay. So I offer to you, if you have in the past found the decluttering parties helpful, carpe diem. There are a bunch of them this month. Use them to your advantage. If you have no idea if a decluttering party will help you, find out. Find out. Buy your ticket, test it out, experiment. Will it help you to show up at a certain time to declutter? Will it help you to show up at a certain time to declutter with not only camaraderie, but support and a professional there to help you when you get stuck? If that sounds intriguing to you, but you've never done it, what's stopping you from signing up? Now, I don't say that in a harping kind of whatever. I just say curiosity wise. Maybe the time doesn't work for you. I don't know. Carla Jane says they are a hoot and a half. So not just a hoot, they're a hoot and a half. And the neat thing is you get to realize you're not alone. And then seriously, tomorrow's starts at 9:30 in the morning. No, 9 o'clock in the morning. By 10:30 in the morning, you've gotten stuff done. And especially stuff you may have been dragging your feet on, you know? So what are you dragging your feet on? Okay. I will offer to you that we can help you. I can help you with that. That's why I offer these. It's not for you to do the things that are easy for you to do, but for you to say, this is what happens to me when I'm decluttering. I get to this point and I get stuck. And I'm like, great, I am here as you are at that point. Let me help you get unstuck. Right? So here's a fun thing I want to sign off for you, which is really neat because I just was checking to see if there was any declutter party people. Alrighty. So I asked my husband, I got specific. There was a number of things from the basement that we want to get rid of, and I was going to piecemeal them out into the trash. And he said, why don't we get one of those bagster dumpster things? And I realized that paying a little bit more money and getting it all done getting it done sooner was worth it to me. The neat thing is he just sent me the whatever you call it, the one item. Oh, funny. Alrighty. You buy it and then they pick it up, I reckon. Okay, so they're going to deliver it today and we're going to start filling that thing. Okay? Yeah. All right. Carla Jane, we do not have a big group in the morning, but I will tell you this. I often get a lot of last minute people. I often get a lot of last minute people. And the thing is even if it's just you and me, hon, you'll get some good stuff done. I'll get some good stuff done. So I say to you, people who are maybe on the fence, buy the ticket, just make the commitment, decide to show up, pay the ticket, and then see what it's all about. Okay? Now, as we leave, I just want to offer Melissa Garvey saying, your chunk it down mantra allows me to believe I can reduce irrelevant paperwork, saved for too many years thinking it would be done someday. Yes, and notice your word irrelevant. Maybe it was relevant at a time. It's no longer relevant. Okay? Chunk it down, decide, show up, drink water, have fun. I love it. Christine decluttered a large variety and quantity of glassware during the lives. Bowls, glasses, vases, candy dishes, so much. Sometimes it's as easy as putting your hand on the item and breaking the spell of I've had it for so long. And you realize, hey, this isn't that bad. And I kind of like the feeling. So, yay, Christine. Good on you. Okay. Now I'm going to go sign off because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go out in the garage and I'm going to see when they're going to deliver this bagster to our house. Okay. Allegedly, it says by 8 o'clock tonight, and I want to get that thing filled with stuff I don't want anymore. All right. This has been wicked fun. I look forward to seeing as many of you as possible on the decluttering party or the TikTok live or the YouTube live tomorrow. And I hope this was helpful for you. Okay. All right. Good stuff, people. I will see you later and do good stuff.